His death was meant to be silent. They said it was a misunderstanding. They said it was a mistake. They said it was handled. But Emmett Till was 14 years old, and the truth refused to stay buried. Emmett Louis Till was born in Chicago in 1941. He was known for laughing loudly, for joking freely, for being a child who had not yet learned that in some places, his very existence could be seen as a threat. In the summer of 1955, Emmett traveled south to Mississippi to visit relatives. It was meant to be a short trip, a family visit, a break from the city. No one told him that the rules were different there, or that breaking an unspoken rule could cost him his life. Mississippi in 1955 was governed by fear, by segregation, by a racial order enforced not just by law but by violence. Black children were taught how to survive, where to look, when to speak, when to stay silent. Emmett had not grown up in that world. The accusation came quietly. A claim that Emmett had whistled at, spoken to, or offended a white woman in a small grocery store. Accounts differed. Evidence didn't exist. But in that place, at that time, truth was irrelevant. Days later, late at night, men arrived at the house where Emmett was staying. They were armed, they were angry, they demanded the boy. Family members pleaded. They offered money. They begged for mercy. It did not matter. Emmett was taken from his bed. Witnesses later recalled his fear. They remembered him asking for his mother. They remembered the sound of a child realizing something was very wrong. What happened next was brutal. Emmett was beaten, tortured, his body broken. Finally, he was shot. To ensure he would never speak again, they tied a heavy metal fan around his neck, and they threw him into the Tallahatchie River. They expected the river to erase him. They expected fear to do the rest. But days later, Emmett's body surfaced, swollen, mutilated, unrecognizable, except for one thing: a ring on his finger engraved with his father's initials. That was how they knew it was him. Authorities wanted a quick burial, a closed casket, a quiet ending. They wanted the story to disappear, but Emmett's mother, Mamie Till Mobley, refused. She made a decision that would change history. She demanded an open casket. She said, "Let the world see what they did to my boy." What the world saw was horrifying. Emmett's face was destroyed, his injuries undeniable. Photographs were published in black newspapers across the country, and suddenly, silence was no longer possible. Emmett Till was no longer just a name, he became proof. The men accused of killing him were arrested. They went to trial. The courtroom was segregated. The jury was all white, despite eyewitness testimony, despite evidence, despite the body. The verdict came quickly, not guilty, after barely an hour of deliberation. Some jurors later admitted they took longer because they stopped for soda. The men walked free, and months later, protected by double jeopardy, they confessed. They sold their story to a magazine. They described the murder in detail, and they faced no punishment. Justice was not denied. It was never offered. But something had changed. The image of Emmett Till could not be erased. People across the country were forced to confront a reality they had long ignored. A child had been murdered, and the system had protected the killers. Civil rights leaders would later say this was a turning point. Rosa Parks would later say she thought of Emmett Till when she refused to give up her seat. A movement gained momentum because silence had failed. A system where fear was enforced through terror, where black lives were disposable, and where forgetting was part of the design. On True Mysteries, we tell the stories history tried to soften, not to reopen wounds but to prevent erasure, because remembering Emmett Till is not about the past. It's about what happens when injustice is ignored, when truth is denied, when silence is treated as peace. So, we are left with the question that still echoes today. If the truth was clear, why was justice never served? If stories like this matter to you, subscribe to True Mysteries, because forgetting is what injustice depends on, and we refuse to forget.